majority of these attacks are in fact attacks conducted with the military objective.
Senator, your time is very limited.
I understand I'll have an opportunity to come back, and I will then list 14 points emerging from this report.
Thank you. Senator Ferguson, Senator, yes.
Thank you very much, and it's welcome, Minister, to the House, and it's my pleasure to second the motion. And I certainly would like to start by commending Senator Norris for initiating this motion and receiving the support of right across the House. I think it's very fitting that this debate is on the nearest working day that we have to the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. But indeed, as Senator Norris has said, it most certainly is not limited to women where we're talking about sexual violence in conflict. I think it's also important and timely that we as a Parliament have this debate, particularly with Ireland's upcoming presidency of the European Union or most recently one membership of the United Nations Human Rights Council. And Senator Norris has spoken with great passion and authority about the heinous use of sexual violence, rape and other forms of sexual abuse as a tactic or as a weapon of war. And I think the gravity of rape as a tactic of war is such that it's explicitly covered under the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court 1998, which entered into force in 2002, which has jurisdiction over the most serious of crimes of international concern. And more recently, we saw the UN Resolution 1820 in June 2008, which notes that women and girls are particularly targeted by the use of sexual violence, including as a tactic of war, to humiliate, dominate, instill fear in, disperse and or forcibly relocate civilian members of a community or ethnic group. And as Senator Norris has mentioned, the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo is something that is of extreme concern, and it was brought to light to me also by Pather King, who's done a really thought-provoking documentary, which I'd say is essential viewing for all parliamentarians. And certainly when we had a viewing of it in the AV room, it's the only time I've seen at the end of a viewing where nobody was able to say anything because we were all so shocked to the core that this was happening in another part of the world today. And I think no conflict seems immune from these despicable acts. You know, in Burma, the military have been accused of carrying out rapes and gang rapes of women and girls as young as 8 with impunity. Rape and sexual violence continues to be perpetrated with unspeakable frequency in Sudan's Darfur region, with women and girls literally running the gauntlet of being raped every time they leave the safety of their villages to collect water and firewood. The level of sexual violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo is almost beyond description. It goes well beyond the rape of babies, elderly women, men and boys. It includes gang rapes conducted by the militia in front of family and community members. And in some cases, male relatives are forced at gunpoint to rape their own daughters, mothers or sisters. There are reports of rapes being carried out with bayonets and guns shot into the victims' genitals. And unfortunately, it would be possible for me to go on and give you further examples illustrating the epidemic proportions that the devastating impact and the urgency of this situation is. But what we really need is action, and I'd like to use my time to focus on where I think action needs to be. Action at international level to bring about immediate and complete cessation by all parties to armed conflict of all acts of sexual violence against civilians, as per Resolution 1820 of the UN. And if I look at Ireland's contribution, I think, Minister, obviously we are committed under the Convention for the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. We're also committed to our international obligations under UN Security Council Resolutions 1325, 1820, 1888 and 1889. And these obligations are collectively addressed under Ireland's National Action Plan for Implementation of UN SCR 1325, 2011 to 2014. And I am pleased, Minister, to learn that progress has been made with the recent establishment and the first meeting of this Action Plan's monitoring group, which has been led by the Department of Foreign Affairs and chaired by Liz McManus, to ensure the meaningful implementation of 1325. And I do commend efforts of the Irish Gender-Based Violence Consortium, made up of human rights, humanitarian and development agencies, the Irish Defence Forces, Irish Aid and government agencies. And I think it's innovative that the membership is both governmental and non-governmental and hopefully provides an example to other countries. I think it's an excellent and meaningful initiative which strives to address gender-based violence and promote the adoption of a coherent and coordinated response within the policies, procedures and programmes of all its member agencies. I also note Ireland's support for and contribution, most notably the achievement of a system-wide cohesion process to the establishment of the United Nations new entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women, UN Women, and I think I do wish to commend this. But, Minister, Ireland will be a board member of this body next year, and I urge you to ensure that gender-based violence, sexual violence, sexual abuse and rape as a weapon of war are promoted as atrocities of urgent concern. And I equally ask you, Minister, to bring it to the agenda of the EU. I cannot understand why the EU is not taking more concerted and coherent action. For me, this is one of the reasons of being a member of the EU, is that by the strength of our numbers of being together, we can provide a role model on the global stage of what is acceptable and not acceptable.
Your time is up.
10 seconds.
Okay.
Minister, also as a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council, we need to intensify our diplomatic efforts to secure action with the Africa Group and the African Union, and I call that you would have a thematic resolution on sexual violence in conflict at the next session of the Human Rights Council as an outcome of this debate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Mullen, microphone on you. 5 minutes, Senator.